Little impromptu business today. I decided this morning to go ahead and do the thing I didn't want to do really and compare 2025 projections to last year to see which systems were the best. So right now it's January 9th, and so Steamer's been out for months, and my projections have been out since November, but improving throughout the offseason. The Bad X came out last week of December. Oopsie, the newer one from Jordan Rosenblum. I guess I got to shout out these people, try to keep it proper. Derek Carty with the bat. Mr. Steamer from Steamer. Nobody knows the Steamer guy. I'm sure people do, but Jim Steamer over there at the Steamer projections. Jordan Rosenblum and others, maybe. Fangraphs, I guess, take some credit for those. He works for them, but him on Oopsie. And Ariel Cohen's ATC projections, I think maybe the most waited for. I don't know. He has that his aren't out yet, so he kind of gets the. He does a nice job building it up, and what's like the exclusivity boost. It's not exclusive, but being last and kind of hyping him up and being mysterious about it, it kind of gives a little bit more interest and excitement for it. And his do very well. All these systems. I don't even like when people say that, everything's great. Everybody's great. They're all great. Because some things in life are better than others, and not everything's good. Not every baseball player is good. Not every person is good at what they do. Can't even have good without bad. But I'm not here to like dunk on people or whatever. They're all very solid systems. It's not an easy thing to do, man. I mean, I know from trying it over the last few years. It's although relatively baseball is actually. Relative to other sports, I would say baseball is actually pretty easy. Everything's one-on-one. We'll talk about it. But I went through and graded all the systems from last year. I did it in a way, and this will be in there's a written post on MLBDataWarehouse.com as well, which maybe you're already reading. That's how you're seeing this video, but this is going to go up on the podcast feed as well. So I went through and did an accuracy check for everybody last year. So I did the Bat, Steamer, me, Oopsie, and ATC. So 5 systems. That's not all of them. I guess Fangraphs has some, and maybe there are even some others that want that I should include. But if there's any that I obviously missed that people use, let me know. I can throw them in. But in my mind, it's like the Bad X, ATC are the best. This is my mind before doing this, right? Like, I think this is the common conception is that Steamer is nice because they're out all the time. They're really early, and it's good to see that you need them in December if you're doing drafts or whatever. But the Bad X and the ATC are kind of the ones you want the most, if not just ATC, because of how ATC works. And I'm pretty sure about this. I confirmed it online, but the article I saw was from 2020, so it's possible things have changed. So correct me if I'm wrong, Ariel or anybody else on his behalf. ATC looks at other systems, finds out historically what they do well, what they don't do well, and do weighted averages on that to put out there. So it's not it's not Ariel, it's not ATC's actual like projecting the player from the real life stats. It's looking at other systems that are spitting out projections and adjusting that, which is great. It's different. And if the Bad X, if Steamer, if these all went away, I don't think the ATC would work, but I could be wrong about that. And I don't say it to be not a negative thing or whatever, but it's a different way of doing it. So my projections enter the fold, and I did, like I said at the beginning, I didn't want to do this because I would assume that mine aren't that great. I did check this last year, and I did it well enough. I was in the middle of the pack, so I'm better than Steamer at least. Spoiler alert. So that made me feel okay. Like I'm not, there's a lot of people that will do projections just kind of by hand or very, very rough. Like we'll just take the averages of the last few years, and mine are at least a little bit more advanced than that. Mine use StatCast data, and I'm actually going to talk about how mine work. That's kind of the point of this podcast. But so we'll do that first and kind of tell you. But I will always remember that this is a personal story, so you can fast forward, I guess, if you want. But I will always remember the first year of me doing them. I had the daily projections as of, I think 2022 it started, a rough daily projection, because I was always in DFS. Like my thing was always DraftKings, DFS, MLB, still is. So I wanted daily projections to try to make lineups and do better in that. So I started that. This was all in the days where I'd gotten a master's degree in data science, and I'd really become familiar with Python and stuff. And 2020, we all got I've been working from home since 2020, so I kind of had a lot of free time. And I kind of invested all of that into Python, learning stuff, and all this without even the AI chatbots, which are so valuable to coders now. So I made the daily ones, and then it was winter. It was like December 2022, and I decided 2022. It's got to be right, yeah. I decided to just convert that. Oh, it wouldn't be that hard. I have the base skill stuff, which we'll get to. I've got the basics of the projection stuff. I got the foundation per se. I can turn these into a season-long projection pretty easily. So I decided to do that. And I'm the type where you get excited about something, you get an idea in your head, and you just want to do it. Like I don't sit down and plan it out and okay, I'll find a couple hours to do this on Thursday, and then next Monday I'll carve out some time and we'll just slowly get like, nah, I'm like, I have a good idea that I'm excited about. I want to get it. I just want to go. And I kind of am more of the Facebook always said, what they say? Their tagline was go fast and break things or whatever. That's kind of how I've been, rather than the more methodical. Let's test every step. Let's break it down into steps, and we'll test and we'll confirm and back test and get the most accurate thing, and then go from there and just take a very slow, methodical way about it. So that's not me. I just kind of jam it out, and then I'll see what the results and find an error. Like early on, there was just some wild batting average projections. I had Schwarber hitting 290 or something that first year. So you'd see that and you're like, okay, well, obviously that's not right. Let's see where it went wrong. What how did this happen? Okay, I had a 420 BABIP on him or whatever. Where did that come from? So just kind of the well, there's a word for it, trial and error, right? So not great. It was never going to be great out of the gate, but over a few years of slowly making tweaks and doing things a little bit more smarter, and I think we've got something competitive, and the results of today kind of prove that in one way. The final answer here, which you maybe have already seen on the article, is that mine are just better than Steamer of the five. So I finished fourth in hitting. There's different ways to look at it and stuff, but pretty clearly I wasn't near Oopsie, the bat, and ATC in hitting. But my pitching projections did look the best by far last year, and I was trying to figure out if there's a good reason for that. I mean, there's a lot of trust involved here. If you are going to believe that I have the best pitching projections, like there's not really a great reason. There's some incentive for me to lie about that, right? So there's a trust involved, and I give the projections out. You can go check for yourself, and maybe a way that somebody else will study it will turn out different results. But at some level you have to take my word for it, right? Because I could have just gone back and edited my own projections to make them more accurate. Although there's plenty of people who would have them downloaded out there from last year. But whatever, it doesn't matter that much. I can promise, right? I did not cheat at all. I don't, and my incentive really isn't that, because none of this matters in the first place. I'm sounding way too serious about it, but my incentive isn't to sell season-long projections anyway, because that's not what people subscribe for. The BAT, ATC, they're all probably on aggregate, overall, like you'll do probably a little bit better, if not, like it's all the same, and those are free. So I'm not sitting here saying that my season-long projections are worth money when the other ones are free. So that's the point. I didn't really care that much how this went. And if I was like only selling season-long projections, then I probably wouldn't have even published this unless it turned out really well for me. So it's nice to have, I can be a little bit more open and honest and objective, because I don't need, the incentive's not all that crazy. New addition to the podcast, by the way, a foam baseball that I found in the basement, one of my kids playing. So it gives me something to do with my hands. So how my projections work, real basic. I don't want to give too much away. I'm not going to give you the code. But basically, you have to find for each player, I call them base skill projections. So that's what you start with. You go look at the history the whole way back to the minor leagues. You find out how things weight, how things progress, what age matters and stuff. And you just do all these things. So we'll take one example. We'll take a hitter's strikeout rate. We want to just project what their strikeout rate will be in the neutral situation. So strikeout isn't the best example for that, because park doesn't matter. It matters a little tiny bit, but not a ton. But for barrel rate, and barrel rate wouldn't matter that much either, because the park doesn't have much to say about that. But once you get into what % of your barrels will go for home runs. That requires some thought of, I have to adjust this down. If you put up a 55% home run per barrel rate in as a red and half your games in Great American Ballpark, I don't want to say that that's who you are. I want to take that park factor out of it. So you adjust it for the park. Okay, he did 55% in Great American Ballpark in those games. We got to adjust that down for how much Great American boosts that on average. So you do that over and over again. I do it for hitters, strikeouts, walks, hit by pitch rates, then the 5 different or the 6 different batted ball types per StatCast: barrels, solid, flare, over, under, topped, weak. Or it's under, topped, weak. I don't think people know about that as much. You don't have to, but Baseball Savant classifies every batted ball into one of 6 categories: barrel being the best for power for home runs, weak being everything under 60 miles an hour, a flare being a soft line drive, solid being a well hit fly ball, like close to a home run, but usually not a home run. Those kind of your doubles, your gap shots, your long flyouts, whatever. Your tops, so your ground balls, and your weak. The top would be a little bit harder hit ground ball. The weak is just anything under 60 miles an hour. So I go through that. I project every single one of those. So for each hitter, I start with strikeout rate, walk rate, hit by pitch rate, and then the stolen base stuff as well. But in terms of what's going on in the box, barrel, all those 6 categories. So I say, okay, he's going to strike out this much. He's going to walk this much. He's going to have a barrel 8% of the time, a solid 6% of the time, and under 33% of the time, et cetera. The whole way through there. And then from there, you take, okay, well, I project him to have 600 plate appearances, 25% of those being strikeouts, 8% of those being walks. That leaves, fill in the blank, whatever it is, 400 some batted balls in play. I got 10% of those being barrels. What percent of those barrels will go for home runs? What percent of those barrels will go for triples? What percent of those barrels will go for doubles and singles? All park neutral. We got to keep the park completely out of it. So after that, we have these, and again, there's more stuff into it than that, but this is just to give you the idea. All of that then is completely stripped of team context, park context, age context, and everything. And then for the season long and for the daily projections, we take those base skills. I was going to show the skill data, but I don't think I want to, and I don't need to at this point. You get it. It's just a bunch of numbers. At that point, we layer on top the environmental factors. So for daily, you're looking at, so if it's April 1st, Monday, and I want to find out what Aaron Judge is doing. Is projected to do today. I've got to factor in obviously what park's the game being played in, what pitcher are they up against, what bullpen are they up against, which relievers are mine even gets rid of the guys that are going to be inactive, that we projected to be unavailable that day. So what's the weather like? The daily projections are obviously a lot more involved because there's a lot of if it's a single day, a lot more about the situation of that game. Now, trying to project 162 games, you don't really get into what's the quality of schedule he's going to face. You could do that. I think the Bat X might actually do that. Mine does not do that. I don't look at, well, this division has these kinds of pitchers, so this hitter needs upgraded or downgraded based on the strength of schedule and stuff. Maybe I should do that. I just think maybe I will someday, but it wouldn't be that hard. I guess I should do it, and maybe that's why my hitter projections didn't do as well. But I feel like over 162 game season, probably every hitter is pretty close. Like the strongest strength of schedule and the weakest are probably not that far away. I mean, it would make a difference. Probably a dinger or 2, maybe 5. I don't know. Small adjustments. Maybe it's more than I think, but I should talk to Cardi about that. He's the one that does all the detailed stuff. But my daily projections take in as much stuff as I could make work. Weather, climates, whatever. The season-long ones don't do as much, which I think it's fine because over a whole season things tend to even out. But home park is perfect, is considered correctly how it should be, and all the park adjustments that happen in the offseason, I account for those and stuff. So that's how it goes. You get the baseline neutral context skills, and then after that, then layer on top the environmental factors. So for season long, again, that means what's their lineup looking like? How good are the hitters around them? What park are they going to play half their games in? Adjust for all of that. So I did that. The projection model the season long projections haven't changed much for 2026. So basically what we're looking at, how I did for 2025 is going to be the same system as what we are doing for 2026. So I will just go through the article now for people that are listening, not reading. This will be free for everybody. You can go read it. But there's some considerations with doing this with grading projection systems. Like I'll share the article now. Share screen, Chrome tab, this one. So I guess I'm just going to be saying what's on the screen, so it doesn't add a whole lot, but we'll just put the graphic up there or something. The considerations are, first, I'm not sure if I did this in the exact standard way, right? There might be a more standardized way of comparing data, of getting forecast projection accuracy, but I think I did. I just took I took each individual projection from each system, so runs, RBIs, average, etc., all the categories, compared it to what actually happened. I got rid of the guys that got hurt. I was requiring at least like a half season's worth of playing time to actually do the checking. And then I just saw what was the average, what was the error on each projection, what percentage error, and then what was the overall average for that, to find like a 1 score for each. You could go by category and see which projection system is best at each category, but I'm just kind of looking at overall. The second consideration, so the point being that maybe there's a different way to do this that would, if you do it a different way, it would give different results, but I think mine is the proper way to do it, or at least close enough. Close enough is kind of my tagline here at MLB Data Warehouse, right? Like, it's not all perfect. It's not all how you would execute if you're looking for absolute 100% everything, the greatest possible optimization, but it's all close enough, I think. Second, playing time is a huge key. Whichever system is going to be the best at playing time has a huge advantage, right? If you want to project how many home runs a guy's going to hit, like the main factor in that, the main input into how many home runs you're going to hit is how many plate appearances did you have, like how many opportunities did you have. So I say in the article, like, yeah, if I told any reasonable baseball fan, and any baseball fan, if I told them, okay, hey, Manny Machado, I know for sure, I've seen the future, he's going to have 625 plate appearances this year. How many home runs do you project him to get? Like, most people are going to be pretty accurate at that. So if you can get the best playing time projection, then you're off to a running start. And the problem is that you can't project that. Like, you can project average in a pretty strong statistical way. I'm not saying you're going to be super duper like 99% accurate or anything like that. Obviously there's variance, but with playing time, again, there are ways to do better, to do worse. Like, it's not smart to project Byron Buxton for 700 plate appearances, or this year it's some guys with questionable situations. Like, maybe they're the last man in the starting lineup, and any struggles will kick them out. And playing time, you got to account for that stuff. So there are smarter and dumber ways to do it for sure, but you have to realize that injuries are mostly unpredictable. So I think that the playing time projections, more than any other in what we're talking about, will vary year to year. I don't think there's maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Maybe there is a optimal formula for it for sure. What is that? That's hard to figure out. And there's so much variance, so much randomness in, what guy gets hurt. So if you happen to be the one projection system with the lowest playing time projection on Marcus Semien last year, and you're the one who says he'll miss 10 games for the first time, everybody else says he won't miss any games, and then he misses 20 games. Like, did you somewhat got lucky there? I don't know, but your whole projection goes up because, okay, I was projecting way closer to his actual opportunity. So my runs, my home runs, my RBIs, my stolen base projection has a big head start. So that is something that I considered. Same goes for innings pitched, obviously. So I wanted to kind of separate the two. I wanted to look at, okay, who did the best overall? Who did the best just at projecting playing time? And then to give the systems that didn't do the best at playing time a fair chance, I looked at what was the rate of stats put up. So we'll go through that. So we started with hitters. And the winner was just overall, if we just looked at the best raw 5x5 projection, so that's runs, homers, RBIs, steals, and batting average, Oopsie won it. So this is a standard error metric here. The number itself won't make any sense to you. 807 was the winning, but lower is better because that means you are closer to zero error. But so I put the numbers there just so you could see who won by how much. And Oopsie and ATC significantly out in front. So Oopsie with the win. Tier 2 would be ATC. Tier 3, you could probably clump the Bad X and mine together. The Bad X beat me by 6 points there, but we were only 7 points apart while Oopsie was up by 25 points ahead of the Bad X. So you could say Bad X, MLB, DW, which are the two most similar systems because we both use StatCast data. While I don't believe any of the other ones do, ATC doesn't even use baseball data. It just uses projections from other systems. Sorry, that's totally wrong. Oopsie does use Bad X, and it uses bat speed. I think that was the big selling point on it last year, is that they were using the most up-to-date StatCast metrics. And I wondered if that would matter if bat speed, I believe that's what it was, right? Like mine uses exit velocities and barrel rates and all this stuff. Obviously, mine's big on StatCast, but it didn't use the new stuff, bat speed. And maybe if that was the reason, well, we're talking about playing time here, so that obviously didn't matter. But no, we're not. This one, sorry, this is just the standard, the standard result, which is the most important one. I just wanted to separate out playing time, which we'll get to. But yeah, Oopsie, and I believe it was his first year last year, at least first year I knew about it. It won 807, a good bit ahead of ATC and a really good bit ahead of the Bad X and MLBDW. Now, I looked at just playing time to see how much of this was about playing time, and it was a lot about playing time. Oopsie had the best playing time projections by a good margin. The Bad X second, ATC third, I was fourth, Steamer was fifth. What that tells me, and what I'm going to adjust now, is that I am going to ignore Steamer. I'm not going to let Steamer influence my playing time projections. I admit in this article, and I will admit in this podcast right now, that I don't make my own playing time projections. I rely on other systems. And since I want to get my system out first or second to Steamer, I want to get it out early because I use it for content. I want to get it out in November so I can just use the projections for all the stuff I'm writing through December. I rely heavily on Steamer projections. I do some manual tweaks and stuff, but what I probably did wrong here and what I'm learning today is that I shouldn't use Steamer at all because it's clearly worse than ATC and the Bad X and Oopsie. So I'm going to adjust mine now, probably wait till after ATC comes out, but I'm going to adjust my playing time projections, meaning plate appearances, starts, and innings pitched, to not use Steamer at all. And I think that should boost up the accuracy. Yeah, and it's just so clear. Maybe Steamer will have a big update, and it's been getting a little bit better, but early on, they're really conservative with playing time projections. I mean, there's very few guys like over 600 plate appearances, which I think I understand why they do that, but I think it's overall it's wrong, and we kind of prove that out here. They had the worst plate appearance projections by far. Removing playing time altogether, we're just looking at we're looking at rates now: runs, homers, RBIs, steals per plate appearance. I looked at that. ATC wins at 616. Steamer actually. So if Steamer was second, so they move way up. They're actually decent at telling you what the player will do on a per game basis, but their playing time projection was so off last year that it cost them big time overall. The Bad X, third, close to Steamer. Oopsie, kind of a distant fourth, and then mine was a distant fifth. I did horribly at that. And I think hopefully it's better this year because I definitely did make a lot of changes last year, some tweaks to the skill projections. Those get better every year as I really do try to optimize the daily projections and stuff. So hopefully I can do better. But for right now, I would not tell you to use my hitter projections. Just from what we saw here last year, ATC seems to be the ones to go with. If you really want to get into it, use some Oopsie, favor Oopsie's playing time projection, and then use ATC's kind of rates it gives you. So that's the result for hitting. I would, if I had to pick one, I'm probably just taking ATC. It just seems to be, year over year, we've got a lot of data of them being very good, very projectable, or very, very accurate. So shout out to Ariel, and get excited for those projections coming out in a couple of weeks, free on Fangraphs and elsewhere. But I don't know if Ariel has like a tip jar or whatever, but you should. I don't know if that guy, he works some for Fangraphs. I don't know if he makes any money off his projections. Hopefully he does, but he deserves to, I would say. But I don't know. He chose to give them away for free, so whatever. Yeah, give the guy a tip if he's asking. I'll do that myself. Era, if you're listening to this, let me know how I can give you $20. I got you. Pitchers. So here's where I was pleasantly surprised, because I won by, I kind of murdered everybody. Overall, just the ERA, WHIP, strikeout, and wins projections, kind of the standard four starting pitching categories. I had a 6.56 error by far the lowest. The Bat X was second, Steamer, Oopsie, kind of all somewhat. Really, everybody else was kind of close. They were all between 11 points of each other. So mine won. I went back and checked this. Like, did something I did subconsciously to like make this work for me? Did I go back and change my pitcher projections last year to like get something more? And I just didn't. So I don't know. Again, and here I give out the projections. So please, if you are really serious about projection accuracy, you should absolutely not take my word for it. Take the projections that I give you here and do this yourself to see if you come up with the same results. I'd be curious to hear about that. All right. So then if we just look at innings projections, I won. It's the same story as Oopsie. I won primarily because I had the best innings projection. And this is a secret. I don't do, which I've already told you, I don't make my own innings projections. I rely on the other systems, but I must have had the right mix of taking weights from them. I do tend to have higher innings projections than other systems I see. Like I looked at some guys that I won on, like I won on Crochet. I actually had a system myself to see for each player who was the most, and I won a lot of them. The one I looked at was Crochet, and it's just I had him for like 20 or 30 more innings than everybody else, which obviously you're going to be a lot more accurate when you have that. But good news is if you just looked at ERA and WHIP, I still won by even more. I had a 6.31 low, whatever that score is, the average error. Oopsie was way behind at 7.21 for second. ATC and Steamer and the Bat all somewhat close, but it went me, I'm looking at Warehouse, Oopsie, ATC, Steamer, and the Bat. Now I was just really trying to go over and over again to make sure I wasn't missing something. So then I checked K percentage, walk percentage, and home run per nine, kind of the three inputs that go into ERA. The three most important thing you can do as a pitcher, the most skill independent ones, strikeouts, walks, and home runs given up. And again, I won very well. 4.34, 6.4, 4.34 for me. Oopsie second at 6.42, ATC right behind at 6.47, Steamer right behind at 6.54, and then sorry, this should say the Bat. I had a typo there. So the Bat X was last. And this is also incorrect. If you're really into projections, you know that Cardi doesn't have the Bat X for pitchers. He keeps talking about doing that. Maybe I got to ask him. It's always been, let me get rid of this now. He's always had, he uses StatCast data for hitters, but not for pitchers. And for years, he's been saying that he's going to get it in there for pitchers. And I don't know if I guess it hasn't happened yet, because if you go to the Bat X on Fangraphs, look for pitchers, it's blank. You have to hit the bat. So that's his older one. So yeah, I must have an advantage in my pitcher projections of being possibly the only one. Oopsie probably, but it was his first year. So I'm definitely using StatCast data primarily. I developed them in 2023, like I said, 2022, where all that StatCast data was already available. So I had the advantage there of starting. I could build the bones from a much richer set of data than possibly what these other systems have started with, which they kind of just have box score data. So it's not shocking, I guess, that my pitcher projections were the best. And again, I encourage you not even to believe me. Don't take my word for it. But I feel good about it enough to, invigorate myself a little bit. And so the concluding line would be, if you want the probably most accurate, things change year to year, so there's no guarantee. But if you just want to use the proper formula from what happened last year, take Oopsie playing time projections, or just use ATC for hitters. Oopsie or ATC for hitters. But again, like I did this last year in the Bat X1. So again, like these things can change year to year. I don't think, and you really have to be like crazy high stakes, like really serious about this stuff to even care about these little tiny differences. Because at the end of the day, like projections aren't going to be, it's only part of the game. You can't just be a computer and win a fantasy league because you had the best projections. It helps for sure, but I'm not trying to say that my system is definitely better for pitchers this year, or that ATC is definitely better for hitters or whatever. Because again, like last year, the Bat X was the best from what I checked. At least I did the same thing last year. It was me and the Bat X for hitters, everybody else kind of behind, and then it was ATC for pitchers, and I was way behind in pitching. So if I remember that correctly, but yeah, I did this last year, and that's kind of what happened. So it's variable year to year, but I wanted to do this, thought it would be fun. I do think the one thing you can take away is, after you have other systems, mine included, you can throw out Steamer. It doesn't seem to be very good overall. So that's that. And you can get my projections if you're impressed enough. MLBDataWarehouse.com, paid subscriber, hit the web app, and they'll be there for you. But again, I don't pay me for those. There's a lot of other things I do at MLB Data Warehouse. Tim's work with prospects and stuff, all kinds of other stuff that makes it worth the $12 a year, but not really the season-long projection. So that's it. 30 minutes on projections. Hope that was interesting and helped. And we'll talk to you next time for more 2026 fantasy baseball talk. Peace out.